Making the Grade, Increasing Post-Secondary Education Access and Success. Welcome. I'm Paul Matesic, Executive Director of Wilder Research. I'm here with Dan Mueller, and we are going to review this topic of post-secondary education access and success with the information and slides that we used in a seminar with the same name, which was sponsored by Wilder Research. I'm going to take an overall look at some of the issues, and Dan will specifically look at one program, The Power of You, to demonstrate how it was able to help students of color and low-income students gain better access and achieve in post-secondary education. My job is to take a look at our workforce and some of the issues facing the workforce. And I would start with a quote that appeared in Science magazine when the editor-in-chief was describing their discussion of whether education is a legitimate focus for scientific inquiry. And he wrote, "Any country that fails to encourage and develop the talent of each individual through its public school system will suffer greatly, because the quality of a nation depends on the collective wisdom of both its leaders and its citizens." We highlighted the words talent in each individual and the quality of a nation because of the importance of looking at this topic, not just for the ways that it contributes to the education and earnings potential of individuals, but by the ways that it links the talents of individuals to the needs of the larger community, of the larger workforce. I'm going to set the stage for today by talking about the increasing importance of a college-educated workforce, describing briefly some of the characteristics of our changing population and its educational attainment, emphasizing the need to start early to ensure post-secondary access and success, and also emphasizing the importance of a lifespan approach that incorporates what we know about what works in promoting post-secondary education access and success. Let me start with a question. What percentage do you think of growth occupations require at least some post-secondary education? 50%, 62%, 74%, or 80%? Think about it. Correct answer? 80%. 4 out of 5 jobs in what are classified as growth occupations require at least some post-secondary education. In fact, the Bureau of Labor Statistics predicted that for the decade 2006 to 2016, jobs that require a college degree will have faster than average growth. Jobs requiring high school alone will grow only at 8% or less. Those requiring post-secondary education will grow somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 25%. They categorize jobs as those that would have above average projected growth and above average wages versus those which would not. Of those better jobs, those likely to grow and those likely to have above average wages, only 3% fell into what they called the high school job cluster. About 18% in the high school, some college job cluster, and 4 out of 5, 79%, fell into higher level clusters requiring post-secondary education. The value of a post-secondary education is clear for both individuals and communities. Having a college degree does lead to better, higher-paying jobs. But importantly, especially for today's discussion, communities, cities, and regions benefit from having a college-educated workforce. That's because such a workforce provides a better match with the newly emerging jobs that the Bureau of Labor Statistics expects to emerge. Let's take a look at the population in the Minneapolis-St. Paul region. This graph shows the 7-county region's population from 1950 to the present, and then on with projections to the year 2030. As you can see from the graph, the region's population has grown steadily since the middle of the last century, and it's expected to grow through the next couple of decades. Two alternative forecasts for growth, one a little higher, one a little lower, but both of them showing an increase in the total population in this region. Let me ask you another question. About 3% of adults, 65 or older, are persons of color. What percentage of children under age 10 are children of color? 12%, 18%, 22%, or 26%? The correct answer is 22%. It's very important to understand that somewhere between 1 in 4 and 1 in 5 of children under age 10 are of color as you start to look at the changing demographics in our region and in most regions around the United States. This graph shows our population by age and race in 2006. The maroonish colors in each bar show the proportion of people in the particular age group who are white. The purplish portions of each bar show the proportion of people in each age group who are of color. Clearly, you can see differences by age. Up in the upper age ranges, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, very small proportions of persons of color. But look at the bars that say 0 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 to 14. There you see much, much larger proportions of people of color. These clearly will be increasing groups among the business owners and leaders of the future, the workforce of the future, the community leaders of the future, the consumers of the future, the parents of the future. This graph shows the percent of residents 25 and older with a bachelor's degree. The top line indicates this percentage for the region as a whole. The lower line indicates this percentage for the United States. What you can see for both the region as a whole and the United States is an increase since 1950. In this region, about 8% of the adult population over 25 had a bachelor's degree in 1950. This rose to just under 40% in 2006. The attainment of a bachelor's degree or other educational credentials does differ, though, by race. This graph for the metro region shows the percent of residents with a bachelor's degree by racial or ethnic group. You can see the bars that extend farther than the others. The largest bar is for Asians, followed by whites. You can see that the bars for American Indians, blacks, other races do not extend quite as far, indicating that a lower proportion of those groups have bachelor's degrees. Those differences among adults begin at an early age. As early as the 3rd grade, we begin to see some big gaps by race. This graph shows the proportion of students who achieve 3rd grade reading standards by race. The middle line shows all children in the region. You can see that it declined slightly from 2006 to 2008. The line at the top indicates the proportion of white children who achieve 3rd grade reading standards. The line at the bottom indicates the proportion of children of color. You can see that the bottom line is substantially below the top line, and that the line indicating children of color seems to be decreasing at least slightly over that 2-year period. Income shows a similar phenomenon. Higher income children, somewhere 90% roughly, achieve at 3rd grade reading level in the 3rd grade. Much lower percentages, shown by that lower line, achieve among the lower income groups in the 3rd grade. These gaps persist from the early grades through high school graduation. This chart shows the percentage of high school students who graduate on time. The middle bar again shows the region as a whole. The upper line indicates white children graduating on time, and their rate is roughly 80%, so roughly 4 out of 5. Only a little more than half that rate is evident for children of color. You can see that 40 to 45% or so of them graduate from high school on time. So those racial gaps persist. What do we need to do? Well, it's important to look at this as not just an issue at one point in the life of a child or a young adult. We need to think through the lifespan of individuals. We need to think about a variety of approaches. Early on in life, promoting school readiness through health, education. In elementary school, promoting effective schools and recognizing the importance of strong community support and family involvement in getting children to succeed. And in high school, continuing to stress effective schools, continuing to stress family involvement, community support, but also recognizing the importance of college preparation during high school, courses geared towards college, and recognizing the importance of social and peer support and trying to build on that to leverage to get young people to support the decision to go on to post-secondary education. This graph gets us to think somewhat simply, but nonetheless usefully, about the progression of events that leads towards successful post-secondary access and on to success in adult life. Family circumstances influence early childhood experiences. Those in turn, in many ways, influence how well a child will do in elementary education. That child needs the support of the schools, families, and communities at that point. That in large part will influence how well they do in high school, and the high school experience, how well they do, the structure in high school, the support they get from the school, from the community, from the family, and from peers will very much influence whether they move on to post-secondary education. How well they do there will influence how well they do as an adult in the workforce and as a parent. If we wanted to think about succeeding generations, we would draw an arrow from that adult life box back up into the family circumstances to indicate that that child, then adult, influences the children that they will have and their children's children as well. That sets the stage. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Dan Mueller, who is the Associate Director of Wilder Research, who will describe an evaluation of one specific program intended to improve access and success to post-secondary education. That program is called The Power of You. Dan?
Hello. As Dr. Matesic said, I'll be talking about the power of you evaluation and presenting results after 2 years of program operation. The program is currently in its 3rd year of operation. My presentation will include a brief program description and a brief description of the evaluation methods we use, followed by a discussion of the results, including enrollment impact of the program and student academic progress and performance. And then we'll talk about the implications of the results. The overall goal of the Power of You program is to increase college enrollment and success of underrepresented youth. That is, youth underrepresented in higher education, such as low-income students and students of color. The target group is Minneapolis and St. Paul public high school graduates, including charter school and alternative school graduates, in addition to traditional high school graduates. The program is offered by Minneapolis Community and Technical College, St. Paul College, and also Metropolitan State University, and it began at Metro State in the 2nd year of the program. As part of the program, students receive free tuition. It covers 72 credits, and that's, just as a reference point, 64 credits are needed for a 2-year associate's degree. The program also provides enrollment assistance, helping students complete college application forms or financial aid forms. It includes orientation classes that cover such things as student study skills, expectations for college students, and stress management. Also includes proactive advising, or what the program calls intrusive advising, and in addition to that, retention services, so that problems are addressed, academic problems, before they get too big. It also includes community service learning, mentoring. There's a formal mentoring component at one of the colleges, and enrichment. Enrichment includes program activities such as workshops, field trips, and social events. Power of You students must enroll as full-time students. That means they have to take 12 credits or more per semester. Issues addressed by the evaluation are the impact of the program on enrollment, the progress and performance of the participants, factors influencing progress and performance, including program components, stakeholder perspectives on the program, including Power of You students, their parents, high school personnel, college personnel, and community partners' perspectives, and the implications of the evaluation results. As mentioned, the evaluation covers the first 2 years of the program, the 2006-07 and the 2007-08 school years. With regard to the evaluation design, Power of You students who entered college in the fall of 2006 and 2007 were compared to the previous 2 cohorts, those who entered college in the fall of 2004 and 2005. That was our primary comparison for the evaluation. But we also compared Power of You students to their non-Power of You classmates or peers in the same cohorts as the Power of You students. Power of You students made up about 60% of the students in those cohorts. All Power of You and comparison students were Minneapolis and St. Paul public high school graduates who enrolled in college in the fall immediately following their graduation. It's important to keep in mind that this is a subgroup of all students enrolling in the participating colleges. They tend to be a younger group compared to most of the students enrolled at these colleges. Data sources for the evaluation were student records from program colleges, Minnesota State College and Universities, or MNSCU, system-wide student enrollment and demographic records, and interviews and surveys with Power of You students, their parents or guardians, high school personnel, college personnel, and community partners. We turn now to results on enrollment. Enrollment of the target group, that is new Minneapolis and St. Paul Public High School graduates, more than doubled at the institutions offering the program. As you can see from the graph, there were about 300 such students in each of the two cohorts before Power of You began. But after it began, the cohort size increased to 600 to 700 students for each cohort. The numbers in parentheses are Power of You students in those cohorts, and their total is about 800 across the 2 years. In the current year, there are 425 Power of You students enrolled, which is quite similar to the 2007 year that you can see there in the graph. Additional analyses indicated a substantial net gain in the enrollment of the target group across the MnSCU system during the first 2 years of the program, a gain of well over 500 students. These results suggest that the program did not simply draw students away from other colleges, but increase the total numbers enrolled. These increases in enrollment were primarily among those underrepresented in higher education, students of color, especially blacks and African Americans, and low-income students. When surveyed, students in Power of You were asked about the impact of the program on their enrollment in college. 34% said that they would definitely not have enrolled without the Power of You. 51% said Power of You made it easier, but they probably would have enrolled still. And 15% said that they definitely would have enrolled without Power of You. The free tuition was the primary incentive for students who decided to enroll because of the Power of You. With regard to recruitment, Power of You established relationships with many of the Minneapolis and St. Paul high schools, and they also had relationships with a number of youth-serving community organizations. Now we are going to turn to results on student academic progress and performance. But before we do that, we'll take a quick look at preparation for college, and here's a question about that for you. What percentage of students attending Minnesota public colleges have to take remedial or developmental courses? Is it 12%, 24%, 36%, or 48%? And the correct answer is 36%. Most Power of You students were academically underprepared for college. In fact, 74% needed to take remedial or developmental courses, more than double the rate for Minnesota public colleges overall, as we just saw, but quite similar to the comparison group students, about 2/3 of whom took remedial classes. Academic progress of Power of You students was compared to prior cohorts and their peers in the same cohorts using the following indicators: retention, grade point average, credits earned, academic standing, and graduation rates. Before showing the results for retention, a retention question for you. What percentage of students that returned for the second year at public two-year colleges, or is it 43%, 57%, 69%, or 84%? The correct answer is 57% who returned for the second year. Retention rates are shown in this graph for a 2-year period. The blue line shows the power of use students in the red line is comparison students in the prior cohorts. Note that retention rates are higher for power of use students, particularly through the fall of the second year. 85% of power of use students return for the spring semester of the first year, and 64% return for the fall semester of the second year, which is actually higher than the overall Minnesota percentage we just saw for public two-year colleges, which was 57%. By the spring of the second year, retention of power of use students was 50%, which is just slightly above the rate for comparison students. In interpreting results for the academic indicators, keep in mind that if power of use students outperform comparison students, this would generally suggest a positive program effect. And if power of use students perform similar to comparison students, this could be considered a limited program success since many would not be enrolled without the program. Next, we look at grade point average. The average cumulative grade point average of power of use students still enrolled at the end of the first year was 2.3 on a 4-point scale, or about a C+. And for those still enrolled at the end of the second year, their grade point average was 2.7, or about a B-. Remember, fewer students were enrolled at the end of the second year than the first. Overall, these grade point average results are quite similar to prior cohorts and their peers within the same cohorts. Results vary somewhat by college, as they do on the other academic indicators as well. We now turn to the credits earned towards graduation. Average credits earned towards graduation by power of use students still enrolled at the end of the first year was 14 credits. And for those still enrolled at the end of the second year, it was 34 credits, which indicates that more credits were earned the second year than the first. The fewer credits earned in the first year is likely due to students taking developmental courses which don't count towards graduation. The average of 34 credits earned after 2 years falls far short of the 64 credits needed for an associate's degree. Nevertheless, it's similar to what prior cohorts earned. We now turn to academic standing. Power of use students in good academic standing of those still enrolled at the end of the first year was 60%, and of those still enrolled at the end of the second year, it was 77%. Those not in good academic standing were either on academic probation or suspension. The percentage of power of use students in good standing was somewhat lower than the prior cohorts or their peers in the same cohorts. And one more question for you. What is the graduation rate after 3 years at two-year colleges in Minnesota? Is it 36%, 48%, 64%, or 80%? And the correct answer is 36%. We now turn to graduation rates. After 2 years, the proportion of students earning a degree, certificate, or diploma for power of use students was 8%, and for students in prior cohorts, 7%. These results are consistent with the credits earned results that we just saw. Power of use students still enrolled after 2 years or plus those who graduated within that 2-year period, that totals to 52%. That doesn't include transfers. This compares to 48% for prior cohorts. We don't know yet what the percentage of power of use students will be who graduate after 3 years. Turning now to implications, what did we learn from this study? First, free tuition is a powerful college enrollment incentive. It drew large numbers of youth underrepresented in higher education who likely would not have enrolled otherwise. It also exposed a lack of awareness of financial aid opportunities within this group. Many didn't seem to know that they might have been able to cover their tuition costs through the federal Pell Grant and state grant. This lack of awareness might be partly due to the low ratio of high school counselors to students in Minnesota. The average in Minnesota is 1 high school counselor to every 800 students, approximately. And this is one of the lowest ratios of any state in the country. We also learned that both academic and non-academic supports are important for college success for many of the students that we studied. More specifically, proactive advising and an early warning system identifying students having academic problems can boost retention rates, at least in the short term. Second, mentoring and service learning may contribute to academic success, according to the analyses we conducted as part of the study. And third, personal and family issues and meeting living expenses such as housing, transportation, or meeting expenses related to emergencies are obstacles to success. Many students may need help in overcoming such obstacles just to stay in college. Finally, we learned that better preparation is a key to improving success in the group that we studied. Clifford Edelman's well-respected research points to the critical role that high school curriculum and the courses students take in high school play in the success students achieve in college, more important, say, than students' grade point average. This suggests that it is important to reach students earlier so they can plan for college and take the courses they will need. And second, ensure the high school curriculum is aligned with college entrance requirements. From our survey of high school staff, we learned that this is sometimes not the case. And third, provide students with opportunities to catch up if they are behind in the courses they will need for college, and to help them do that through summer classes or weekend or evening classes or through other means. In sum, the PowerView program succeeded in bringing many underrepresented youth into college. Once there, they face many challenges to succeeding and earning a degree, even with the program's help. That ends my presentation. Thank you very much for attending our webinar today. We hope you found it useful. And if you'd like more information on this topic, you can go to our website at www.wilderresearch.org. Thank you.